Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly tarot card reading. And for this week's reading, I'm using the Dark Mansion Tarot. Alright, so my intention here with this reading is to draw 3 cards to represent the upcoming week, and I'm hoping to get some new ideas and perspectives on how to best approach the upcoming week. You know, what opportunities might present themselves, and just some creative ideas. Okay. So I just want to remind you that if you enjoy this video, I post them every week on Fridays. So make sure you like and subscribe. And let's begin with the first card. So the first card represents Monday and Tuesday of the upcoming week. And here we have the Hierophant. Now, what's interesting about the Hierophant is this is one of those cards that a lot of people have a hard time relating to. There's always a few cards in a tarot deck that, you know, you feel like you just can't connect to or you have a hard time interpreting. And for a lot of people, it's the Hierophant. Because the Hierophant seems kind of uptight and stuffy. And there is this air of like, do what I say, you know, follow my direction, follow my orders. There is this kind of authoritarian energy to this card. And I think that's what a lot of people reject. That's what a lot of people just can't warm up to. But that is kind of the dark side of the Hierophant. So the dark side of the Hierophant is that authoritarian, top-down kind of hierarchical sort of structure where you're supposed to not question the orders that you're given. So that's the dark side. So let's start with that. So the beginning of the week, you may find yourself coming face to face with this kind of energy. It could be in another person that you know. It could be like more in a political sense. It could be you know, in more of a general kind of sense, not necessarily a person that exudes this kind of energy, but you may sort of come across this kind of this energy where you're expected to bow down and, you know, go along with things and not question things. And it's always a good idea if you're the kind of person who thinks for themselves. It's always a good idea to question things and to never just blindly follow something without taking a critical look at it, no matter how good it may seem initially. So that's one way of looking at this card. The other way of looking at this card is, so that was the dark side of the Hierophant. Now the bright side of the Hierophant is that he represents wisdom. He represents someone who has taken a particular path and knows the route, knows how to get there, and now he wants to tell others how to do it. Of course, there's many problems with that, being that just because you follow a particular path, it doesn't guarantee you the same results that someone else might get from following that same path. But the Hierophant is about sort of following guidance that is tried and true, that has a history a history, I guess I should say. So it makes me think of particular, you know, you could think of institutions. You could even think of the Hierophant as being like a teacher. So if you're taking a course, there's a certain amount of goodness and wisdom in not giving up your power to that teacher, but just sort of listening to what that teacher has to say for a moment and assuming that they've learned a lot on their journey and that they have something of value to share. I'm reading a book right now on how to build muscle and get really fit. And as I'm reading this book, there's, you know, I've had a lot of training and a lot of education around this, so I have a lot of knowledge about this. And so as I'm reading this guy's book, I'm like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm like disagreeing with stuff. And I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? This guy looks really fit, so he knows something. He's fitter than me, so he knows something about this. So I'm going to just suspend my disbelief and just listen to what he has to say with kind of an open mind. It doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, follow all of his advice or anything like that, but I'm just going to sort of suspend my disbelief and just read this book with an open mind. And the Hierophant kind of asks you to do that sometimes. Sometimes there's value in taking a path that is well-traveled. But of course, you have to decide for that. You have to decide that for yourself this week. So let's have a look at the middle of the week. So this is for kind of like Wednesday, Thursday-ish. And we have the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace of Wands symbolizes almost like a jolt of creativity. So this is really a beautiful card to get for this week. It shows that you are going to experience perhaps a heightened openness to creative ideas this week. There will be opportunities for you to have these kinds of like what I call shower ideas, when you're just sort of in the shower and all of a sudden you get a really great idea. So this is a week that is going to feel more fertile creatively for you. And of course, it's going to feel different for different people. But there's this opportunity to switch on your creative mode, the creative part of your brain. And of course, whether or not this week you get ideas and insights and creative, ideas will depend on how open you are to things. It will depend on how receptive you are. Because of course, if the receptive mode is shut down, if you're just focused on getting work done or focused on a problem, you aren't going to be in receptive mode. And so you won't be open to all that great creative energy that could be coming your way this week. So one question to ask yourself this week is, how can I be more open to creative ideas this week? And I find that sometimes for myself, I need to create the space for creativity to happen. So I have to have some unstructured time in my day where I'm just kind of sitting, reading or journaling or doodling or something like that, where there's no goal. I'm not trying to get something done or trying to achieve anything. So I have to kind of create that space for myself. And so that might be something you might want to think about doing this week. But also the Ace of Wands symbolizes a new beginning, and it also symbolizes an opportunity. So you may, if you're really lucky, you may have some opportunities this week to, start something new, whether it's a new project or something along those lines. Let's look at the last card. This card is for the end of the week, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And here we have the King of Swords. Now, what's really interesting is he kind of looks like the Hierophant. They both have this really solemn, they both have like the pointy cheekbones. They have a frown on their face. They have this sort of solemn expression. They're both sitting on a throne. It's this sort of masculine, authoritative energy that's coming through in this reading. So what does he mean for you? Why is he here in this reading? So the King of Swords, apart from being kind of a serious fellow, he has a very sharp mind, and he's very organized and methodical. And when he sets out to do something, he does it. He's very strict with himself. He has a lot of, a lot of willpower, but that comes from being organized and being kind of analytical in the way he sees the world. He's very good at categorizing things and kind of putting things into boxes, and that's just how he understands the world. So again, why is he here? What is he telling us? What message does he have for us? So I'm getting a few different messages here. Number one is he seems to be encouraging us to get organized this weekend. So this could mean getting a planner, if you don't already have a planner, making a to-do list, setting some goals, kind of getting as organized as you can, taking care of any loose ends. If you've got, bills to pay and figure out, or clutter to organize, get all that sort of tied up and nice and neat and tidy. So that's one thing I'm getting from the King of Swords. He also seems to be encouraging us to look at a situation, and we're all in different situations. We all have different life situations, but to look at things with a clear, rational mind. And I'm really drawn to his sword. And I see that sword as being a symbol for kind of cutting through all the bullshit that sometimes gets in the way of us seeing things clearly. It's about cutting through that red tape, cutting through all that mental, emotional clutter to get to the truth of the matter. So he is saying, if you're feeling confused or if you're wondering how to proceed with something, take a step back, take a few breaths, try to clear your mind as much as you can and look at the facts. Sometimes that's a helpful thing to do. Oftentimes I'm always like, oh, what's my heart telling me? What are my feelings? What's my intuition telling me? But sometimes we just need to take a step back and look at the cold, hard facts of a situation before we move forward. So he seems to be advocating kind of a rational, almost a linear, clear-headed approach to things. Lots of phallic symbolism in this reading, I have to say. We've got the sword, we've got the wand. The Hierophant is just one big phallic symbol when you look at it in certain ways. So yeah, a lot of phallic symbolism. I'm not sure what that represents exactly. I guess there's many different ways we could go with that. But I see this week as being there's opportunities, I think, for creativity. But it does feel like that creativity will be best utilized if you have a clear mind. And I think the Hierophant represents kind of having a clear path to follow. And I think that's why people are often drawn to religion or even to cults and things like that, or like diet programs and stuff. It's like it gives you a clear path to follow. It gives you linear steps. And it seems like it's easy from a mental perspective because you're like, oh, I know what I have to do. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. But the Hierophant is saying, have a plan, basically. Have some steps to follow. And King of Swords is saying, look at things with a clear head. And it's almost like when you do that, you create space for yourself. You get rid of a lot of the mental clutter and confusion so that some inspiration and creativity can show up for you. All right, so that has been your weekly tarot card reading. My name is Kate. You can learn more about tarot and tarot card reading on my website, the Daily Tarot Girl, dailytarotgirl.com. I'll put the link to my site in the description box below this video. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. As always, leave me a comment if you have a different take on these cards or want to share how you see the cards. Please feel free to do so in the comment section. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.